Okay, so the Louvre is the world's most visited museum, which means it always has to be in tip-top shape. Unfortunately, that has not been the case recently. Good news is a jaw-dropping €1 billion renovation's been announced, but what exactly is the problem with the Louvre Museum, and who's paying for such a major renovation? Keep watching this video and find out. Why the Louvre needs to be renovated urgently. The Louvre Museum has been plagued with major infrastructural issues for years, which is not a good look for a museum as visited as this one. One of the major issues includes the old ventilation system that struggles to keep up with the number of daily visitors. Imagine walking through the grand halls, admiring centuries-old masterpieces, and suddenly realizing that the air feels stuffy and humid. That's because the current system was never designed to handle over 30,000 people every day. When you cram that many people into one space, things heat up quickly, and art preservation becomes a serious concern. If temperature and humidity aren't controlled properly, delicate paintings and sculptures could suffer irreversible damage. Nobody wants to be the person who saw the Mona Lisa right before she starts to fade. Another major issue is the leaking roof. You'd think that a world-class museum housing priceless art pieces would be watertight, but nope. Parts of the building have been suffering from water damage due to leaks, especially in older sections of the palace. When it rains, staff members sometimes have to scramble to protect artworks from potential water exposure. This isn't just embarrassing for a museum of this caliber, but it's also dangerous for pieces that have survived hundreds of years. The Louvre is supposed to protect these treasures, not accidentally turn them into watercolor paintings. But that's not all, because there's also the problem of overcrowding. If you've ever visited the Louvre, you know what a nightmare it can be to move around inside. People squeeze shoulder to shoulder, all trying to get a glimpse of famous paintings. The Mona Lisa room, in particular, turns into a chaotic mess every single day. Tourists push, flashes go off non-stop, and security is constantly yelling at people to keep moving. The museum was never designed to handle this level of foot traffic, and it shows. Some corridors become almost impossible to navigate, making the experience stressful instead of enjoyable. To fix these issues, French President Emmanuel Macron announced a big renovation plan for the Louvre. This plan aims to make the museum better for everyone and is expected to cost around €1 billion. The goal is simple: fix the aging infrastructure, make the experience more enjoyable, and ensure the art is preserved for future generations. But throwing money at the problem isn't enough. The renovation needs to be smart, efficient, and respectful of the museum's historical significance. After all, this isn't just any building. This is the Louvre, and if it's going to be updated, it needs to be done right. What will be added during renovations? One exciting part of the plan is building a new main entrance on the Sully side of the museum. This new entrance will help visitors get in and out more easily and reduce crowding. If you've ever entered the Louvre through the main pyramid, you know how packed it gets. The lines stretch outside, security checks take forever, and by the time you get in, you're already exhausted. By adding another entrance, the museum can spread out visitor traffic and make the entire process smoother. Also, the famous Mona Lisa painting attracts thousands of visitors every day, causing crowded rooms. Right now, seeing her up close is like fighting through a mosh pit at a concert. It's not exactly the peaceful art appreciation moment most people hope for. To give everyone a better experience, the plan includes moving the Mona Lisa to a special room under the museum's courtyard. This will allow visitors to enjoy the painting in a more comfortable setting. Imagine stepping into a carefully designed space dedicated to just one painting, where you don't have to wrestle your way to the front. Sounds like a dream, right? That's exactly what the Louvre is aiming for. Other new features of the renovated museum will be including updated lighting systems. The Louvre's current lighting system is outdated, which means some masterpieces aren't being displayed in the best way possible. By improving the lighting, paintings will appear more vibrant, details will be easier to see, and the overall experience will be more immersive. Also, there will be new visitor amenities, such as more seating areas, better restrooms, and expanded food options. Right now, if you need a break, your choices are kind of limited. With millions of people visiting every year, having more comfy spaces to rest are going to make a huge difference. And let's not forget security upgrades. The Louvre houses some of the most valuable artworks on the planet, and keeping them safe is a top priority. The new renovation plan includes modernizing the museum's security systems with better surveillance, improved crowd control, and possibly even digital ticketing to manage visitor flow more efficiently. These changes will help protect the art while also making the museum experience less chaotic for everyone. Simply put, the Louvre is getting a serious upgrade, and by the time renovations are complete, visiting the museum will be smoother, more enjoyable, and even more awe-inspiring than before. Whether you're a first-time visitor or a lifelong art lover, the new Louvre is going to be a place worth experiencing all over again. You may think a museum as famous as the Louvre has unlimited cash, but that's not the case. keeping a historic landmark running takes lots of money, and when you throw €1 billion renovation into the mix, things get a bit tricky. So where's all this money coming from? Well, the Louvre has a plan, but not everyone's going to be happy about it. First, let's talk about ticket prices. Right now, visitors from all across the world came to see the Mona Lisa, the Venice de Milo, and thousands of other priceless artworks. But starting January 1st next year, the price of admission is going up, at least for some people. If you're a tourist from outside the EU, like from the US, Canada, or China, you're going to have to pay more to enter the museum. This extra money will go straight to the renovation fund to pay for the upgrades. It's not the first time ticket prices have gone up, but this time the increase is very specific. EU gets to pay the same amount, while visitors from other countries have to dig a little bit deeper into their pockets. Now, you might be wondering why the Louvre is choosing to make non-EU tourists cover more of the bill. The reason is simple. More than half of the Louvre's visitors come from outside the EU, so charging them more makes financial sense. The museum needs money, and since tourists make up the majority of its guests, they're the ones who will be asked to contribute more. It's a strategy that has worked for famous attractions before, like the Colosseum in Rome and the Acropolis in Greece, where non-residents often pay higher entry fees than the locals. But ticket sales alone won't cover a €1 billion project. That's where private donors and corporate sponsors come in. Many wealthy art lovers and businesses want their names associated with the Louvre, and they're willing to spend money to make it happen. Luxury brands like Cartier have sponsored museum projects before, and it wouldn't be surprising if some of them stepped in to help this one. In return, they get recognition, also advertising opportunities, and the chance to support a cultural icon. France's government's also playing a role in funding. Since the Louvre is a national treasure, the state is expected to provide financial support, just as it's done for past restoration efforts. However, government funds are limited, and with other major projects needing cash, the Louvre can't rely on public funding alone. At the end of the day, paying for a €1 billion renovation is not easy. The Louvre is taking a multi-pronged approach, mixing higher ticket prices with private donations and government help. Whether this plan will work smoothly or cause problems is another story. Still, the goal is to give the museum a major upgrade, and someone's got to foot the bill. Opposition and challenges faced. Of course, setting $1 billion aside for a renovation project is sure to raise the eyebrows of some critics. Not everyone agrees that the Louvre should be spending so much money on upgrades, and the plan has sparked plenty of debates. While some believe the changes are necessary, others see them as unnecessary, unfair, or even damaging to the museum's charm. One of the biggest complaints is that the ticket price increase for non-EU visitors. Many are arguing that it's unfair to make tourists from outside Europe pay more while EU citizens keep paying the same amount. Some travel groups have even warned that higher prices could push visitors away, leading to fewer tourists and less money for the museum in the long run. If fewer people decide to visit, the Louvre could end up making less money instead of more, which would make funding the renovation even harder. Then there's the question of the Mona Lisa. The plan to move the painting to a new underground gallery has some art lovers worried. Right now, Mona Lisa is displayed in a heavily secured room inside the Louvre, and despite the crowds, people are used to seeing her there. Moving the painting could cause controversy, especially if visitors feel the new location isn't as special. Some critics even fear that moving Mona Lisa could damage the artwork, even though museum officials insist it will be handled with extreme care. Preserving the Louvre's historic beauty is another big concern. Some worry that renovations might make the museum feel too modern, taking away from its centuries-old charm. The Louvre's glass pyramid was once controversial when it was first built back in the 80s, but now it's an iconic part of the museum. Will the new changes be embraced the same way, or will they be seen as a mistake? Political debates have also entered the conversation. Some argue that the French government should be spending money on more urgent issues like education and healthcare, instead of helping fund a museum renovation. Others believe that the Louvre, as a cultural landmark, deserves the investment, as it brings in millions of tourists and generates huge revenue for France's economy. Regardless of the challenges, the Louvre is moving forward with its renovation plans. Some people will love the changes, while others remain skeptical. But one thing is certain: when the project is complete, the Louvre is going to be a different place, for better or worse. Only time will tell whether the €1 billion investment pays off, but until then, the debate is far from over. How will visitors be affected during renovation? Now, the Louvre is the most visited museum in the world, welcoming nearly 10 million guests every year. That means it's constantly packed with people from all over the world, eager to see some of the most famous artworks in history. But keeping a museum like this open while carrying out a massive €1 billion renovation is a challenge like no other. Imagine trying to repaint your living room while 50 strangers walk in and out, staring at your furniture. Now, multiply that by a few million, adding some priceless artwork, and you get an idea of what the Louvre's dealing with. Renovating such a busy and historic building while keeping it open is going to take serious planning. First, you've got noise. Power tools, drilling, hammering, and construction crews moving heavy materials around is going to create a soundscape that's anything but peaceful. Visitors hoping for a quiet and serene museum experience might be in for a surprise. Then there's the dust. Construction crews stir up a lot of debris, and even with the best containment efforts, there's always the risk of fine dust particles floating through the air. The museum is going to need top-tier air filtration systems to protect both the artwork and the guests from unwanted particles. Temporary closures will also be a big part of the process. Certain wings, halls, or even entire sections of the museum might be blocked off at different times to make way for renovation teams. If you've been dreaming of seeing a particular exhibit, there is a chance you could show up and find a "closed for renovation" sign instead. That being said, officials know how important it is to keep the experience as smooth as possible. These renovations are going to be done in phases, carefully planned, so visitors always have access to the major exhibits. However, some detours and changed layouts, that's unavoidable. Yes, that iconic route from the entrance straight to the Mona Lisa might take a couple unexpected turns for a while. But the biggest change that will affect visitors is the construction of a new main entrance. Right now, the main entrance is the glass pyramid in the center of the courtyard. It's a beautiful sight, but it's also one of the biggest bottlenecks in the museum. Lines can stretch for hours, especially during peak tourist seasons. The new entrance will be on the Sully side of the museum, and the goal is to create a smoother, faster, and more efficient way for visitors to enter. The design of this new entrance has not been chosen yet, but an international architectural competition will determine the best candidate for the job. This competition will be launched soon, and by the end of 2025, a winning design will be announced. The entire project is expected to take 6 years, with the final phase scheduled for completion by 2031. That means every year, there will be some level of construction happening somewhere in the museum. So if you're planning a visit anytime soon, be prepared for some unexpected changes. However, the end result will be a better, more modern, and more visitor-friendly Louvre. What do you think about these renovations? Let us know in the comments below. We are committed to releasing 2 videos a week. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more visionary builds.